Hello everybody, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening depending on where you are in this amazing world. My name is Donovan Jolly, and welcome everybody once again for another amazing video of DIY investing. For today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys a new chart that I just went through and made that I know is going to blow your guys' minds. This is something that I spent a lot of time going through, contrasting different points and opinions, and ultimately coming to this conclusion that I believe that this next cycle coming could be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, that we'd ever seen. We've always been talking about the potential of a super cycle, talking about when that true cycle happens, where all of the mainstream media starts to go nuts, retail investors go crazy at the chance of buying crypto, and FOMO buying into all of our personal bags. Today I'm going to be breaking down the chart on why I believe that this next cycle coming could very well be the one that we've been watching for so many years now, and how we can all go about profiting off of it in the very best ways. If you're new and just find this channel, always remember to do me a favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribing to this channel for more updates. Always remember to click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these amazing videos like the one provided for you here. And make sure you guys sign up and join the Discord server of over 20,000 members and growing. You guys can also go ahead and download my free ebook. Links are in the description to go ahead and check out both. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And with that being said, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Alrighty guys, now I spent a bunch of time going through this, and I've talked about it a little bit before, but I wanted to spend enough time to really break it down in a way that's easy to understand, because at the end of the day guys, what we know is that we've been in crypto for coming upon 12 years now inside of these cycles. Now inside of these cycles, we've watched crypto go from literally worth pennies when nobody was using it all, to the point where we're actually seeing real institutional investors building upon these different blockchains. We're seeing them invest into them, and we're seeing entire rebrandings around some of this stuff. Now, when Facebook rebranded to the metaverse, that's not really crypto, but in a way it really is, because where we're seeing the majority of the innovation inside the metaverse, in my opinion, is coming through the crypto space. And so we have all of these emerging markets. For the first time ever, we now have true institutional adoption. We have big institutions that are not only investing into different projects, they're working with them personally. Not only them working personally, but them trying to work with regulators on getting somewhat of clarity and somewhat of a framework that we can all work off of. Us being so early in these cycles, when we do get that major mainstream adoption cycle where the institutions have bought, they feel like they've accumulated what they need to, and then they really push it to the mainstream. We get all of the retail investors that jump in here. We got to keep in mind, guys, that what we saw back in 2017 was such a profitable cycle. It was so insanely profitable. Had you have just invested, $50 to $100 in some of these cryptos, that would have been enough to literally change your life. And some even less than that. And that was a massive cycle throughout this period of time. Now, even though this cycle was still very profitable, it wasn't anything close to what we saw here. I mean, if we're thinking in terms of, this was the previous all-time high of that cycle. Let's make these white. This was the previous all-time high of that last cycle. And then this is where we ended up peaking above. Significantly above that previous all-time high. This was the previous all-time high of our last cycle. Where did we peak above? Well, not very high above. Just a little bit above. And so when we're looking at these, I think that there is the potential that we could actually be getting ready for that major mainstream cycle. We didn't have all of the on-ramps that we had for retail investors to come in and buy in crypto back at this point. There just wasn't the knowledge, the awareness, and the mainstream attention to get people to really go and buy those cryptos. Yes, the market went insanely high, but it really didn't take that much money to do that. For the amount of money to take the amount of money that it takes to move our market today is much, much higher than that. So the odds of us getting that exact same price return is going to be much smaller. But I do believe that when we get that true retail adoption cycle where the mainstream gets shilled like crazy, it's going to be everywhere down everybody's throats. We got a little taste of that in this most recent cycle, but it was nothing close of even what we saw in 2017. We saw a lot more euphoria inside of the 2017 cycle than we saw in the 2020, 2021 type of cycle. And so when we're watching this, I think it's really important that we understand the key differences. Now, one of the things I want to point out and talk to you guys about is analyzing just how similar our first cycle ever leading into that 2017 bull run is to the market structure that we're actually seeing today, and why I think that the charts could be telling us very early on that this will be the next major mainstream cycle. And I shouldn't even say the next major one, because I don't even think we've had a true mainstream cycle yet. The last one was very close. A couple years ago, we did see a lot of mainstream adoption, but it still wasn't on par with what we would expect to see in a true mega cycle. Now, I'm not saying that inside of a cycle we're just going to keep going up forever. That's not what I'm trying to point out at all. The point that I'm trying to make is just simply that there is a cycle where there is true mainstream adoption that takes place when all of the smart money is bought, and that is the big cycle that takes off. That's generally where a lot of our money is going to be made because of the sheer amount of opportunities that are going to be created. When everything's getting adopted, it will be like the internet bubble. It'll be even bigger than the internet bubble because there's more value to be created through blockchain and crypto than the internet. And I think that it's really just an enhancement of the internet itself. And so when we're thinking about this, it would make sense that we would have one major cycle play out very similarly. Now, what I've noticed is so similar between our first cycle and the one today is really just the market structure itself. At the very top of our cycle, we created almost this exact same sort of topping structure where we make our first lower high, lower low. This is our higher high, but then we ultimately get stuffed below our resistance, right? So we kind of make this double attempt at breaking out, and then that gets stuffed for us to actually continue on and get confirmation inside of that bear trend. This was us making our first true lower low in that bear trend. We kind of consolidated here, and then that led us to our final capitulation of that cycle. What's so funny to me is how identical it was in that 2018 bear market. We make almost the exact same kind of structure right below those all-time highs. We end up selling below both of those lows. Once we do that, that really confirms our bear trend. We consolidate sideways for a little bit, and then we'd go for one more final low that is really our capitulation, right? Now, once capitulation happens, we make a strong bounce all the way back up. The first cycle was a lot more volatile. We ended up coming almost all the way back up to those all-time highs, whereas in our most recent cycle, we ended up just coming back up and retesting our previous low of support. We hit that, and then this is really where we just kind of go sideways and accumulate for a significant period of time. Eventually, once the accumulation is over, we start the next move back up into new all-time highs. Now, this is where I believe that the cycles got different. What I thought was going to happen to this cycle right here was a cycle very similarly to 2017, a move like this. But what happened was actually a move like 2017, but it was actually the year before. It was in 2016, leading into that 2017 bull run. And that's where I believe our cycle is actually at today. Keep in mind that what happened after we ended up breaking out of our accumulation, we made a move into new all-time highs. Our first move kind of stopped around those all-time highs, and then we made a new move into all-time highs here. And then we really started correcting pretty much at that breakout point. We never really made a convincing move past. It was really just us making a move right outside of those all-time highs and then us consolidating above for, a few months. It wasn't the longest time because there was a lot less money inside of the market back here. And I think that that's why we are in a different period of time. What I personally believe is that we are in an extended cycle that follows the same kind of 4-year cycle time frames. It's kind of a hybrid of all of them. The more money that gets into a cycle, the longer it takes for that cycle to ultimately create an impulse. There's way more money, there's less volatility. The amount of money it took to move the market, 5 to 10x in value back in 2016 was almost nothing, versus the amount of money it takes to move, a market like Ethereum 10 to 20x. It's a significant amount of money. And so that's why I believe that it takes a lot longer to create the same cycles. I believe that the corrections will most likely keep following 4-year cycles, but what will play out is something very similarly to what we have seen in years past. This entire market structure that we've seen at the breakout and the retest of the previous all-time highs is almost exactly the same as what we're seeing today. There's not a whole lot of difference that I see between each of these cycles. We get almost the same consolidation structure where we break the all-time highs, kind of retest those, kind of consolidate above those all-time highs, and we never really make a convincing move one way or another. We never really break below. We never really made a strong move above. And that's why I believe that where we're at, looking at the retail adoption, thinking in terms of institutions, thinking of all of the new on-ramps, we have so many ways for people to just onboard crypto, buy by the droves. And I believe that that was the thing that we didn't really see in our most recent move up here. We didn't get to see true retail FOMO. We saw a lot of FOMO, but it was mainly just FOMO from the people that were already in crypto that were toughing it out throughout the bear market, right? There was a little bit of new people that jumped on board during that period, but honestly, what I saw, the most people getting on board were the new people that joined at the very top. It wasn't a whole lot throughout this period of time. And that's why I believe that this market structure over here is going to end up playing out very much the same as our most recent cycle that we're in right now. And the move that's coming could very easily be this type of move to the upside. Now, I'm not saying that it has to go up nearly as high. What I'm pointing out is just a very euphoric type of move to the upside. Notice how this one had very little pullbacks. When we did get pullbacks, we immediately went higher back up into our cycle. I believe that that's what's going to be playing out once again to some extent. Just strong impulses. You know, this was very slow and consistent. And while the price structure itself can be pretty consistent with the lack of volatility, with the new money that's entering the markets, I still am expecting more euphoria than what we saw throughout this period. You know, keep in mind that this was impulsive in this cycle over here, but it wasn't anything along the lines of this, right? If we would have been looking at this, this was steady, consistent growth. Yes, it was more impulsive because there was less money in the market. It looks a little impulsive. But in terms of what we saw in this move up, it was very much smaller, you know. And that's why I think that where we're at today is pretty much the same thing. Yeah, this was a pretty quick move, but versus what will ultimately be coming on our next one to the upside, I think that that one's the one that we need to be prepared for because that is the true retail wave where institutions are going to probably be getting out. They need ultimate liquidity to sell into. How do you get ultimate liquidity? Well, you need retail to do that. And so it would make sense that we would have one true mainstream adoption cycle that is just super euphoria to ultimately give the liquidity for smart money to sell into. So anyways, guys, this is the video I had for you. I actually think that this is going to be one of the most profitable cycles coming up for us. I think that we have an amazing opportunity by getting in now, and I think a lot of people are underestimating it, especially with the fact that our most recent cycle was a little lackluster compared to what I was expecting, compared to what many others were expecting. And so many people have left the market completely. They're out, they're getting out, they're not ready to jump back in, they're not looking to get back in. And that's why I believe the opportunity is ripe and choice for us to all go ahead and take it. I think that this is literally where we're at in the big picture, and we're getting ready for a true mainstream cycle where we see a lot of liquidity, a lot of retail money flooding into the markets, and it'll be a fun one to get into, guys. If you've thought about the internet bubble, how lucky people were to get in at those early points in that cycle, I'm here to tell you guys that this is your opportunity of doing it again, and that's why I've stuck it out with crypto. You know, that's why I'm sticking it out today. I truly believe that there is not too many other opportunities that are as prime as crypto is right now. And I think that crypto truly is one of the biggest that most people are underlooking. So don't underestimate yourself. Continue to focus in on the next 1 to 2 years, because it can truly change your life, just like it's changed my life in such a short period. So thank you guys that are supporting the channel. Thank you guys that are still here after all of the struggle. It's hard to go through a long-term correction inside of the market. So many people will be toxic inside comments. People will be saying things in general that makes you question your own trading, your own analysis, your own belief in yourself. And I'm here to tell you guys that I've been through that. This is now going to be my second completed bear market, and it gets easier each and every time, and you get more profitable as well. So thank you guys so much for the support, and with that being said, I will catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.